Hi guys, good afternoon. So this is our current session after our midterms. So before we proceed to the periods of art, so let's discuss first, or rather, let's have a recap on what we have discussed on the past sessions. Okay? So we have discussed about the elements, no? Yung elements of art, which is the line, shape, form, value, space, texture, and color. Then followed by our definitions of each elements, no? Okay. And then after that, we proceed to where? To our principles of art naman, which is the balance, our movement, our emphasis, the variety. We have also our harmony. We have also the proportion and scale. We have also the unity. And so that is a total of eight. Okay. So randomly again, we have the balance and symmetry. We have the proportion and scale. We have the emphasis or dominance. We have the pattern or repetition. We have the movement or rhythm. We have the unity. We have harmony. And we also have the variety and contrast. Okay. So we also have, excuse me, we also have the categories of art, which we discussed as a part three of our discussion, which is the representational art. Okay. No. So this is to represent objects or subjects. And then it's a subcategories, which is the realism, the impressionism, idealism, and stylization. Okay. And then next to it is our abstract art. Okay. Then for the subcategories of the abstract art, we have the cubism, we have the minimalism, and the precisionism. Okay. And then also after that we have lastly the non-objective art. Okay. So now we will discuss about the definition of art. Okay. Which is defined solely by how does the art do, no? So how does the art look? What does the art mean? What makes art beautiful? And who is an artist? Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen. Okay, okay. So, wait. Okay. So let's now proceed with defining art. Okay? So, when you define art, there are several questions that has been asked, no? So, ano ba 'tong mga 'to? So, what does the art do? How does art look? What does art mean? What makes art beautiful? And who is an artist? So, dun muna tayo sa una. So, what does art do? Ayan. So, an art can arouse a aesthetic or moral feelings and can be understood by as a way of communicating, no, those feelings. So, yun yung isa sa mga um ginagawa ng art, no? So, yung ating moral feelings, no? And then it is the way of communicating dun sa ating mga nakakakita nung art natin. So, yung feeling, kung ano yung nagiging feeling mo nung ginawa mo yung art na yon, mararamdaman din yun ng iyong viewer, no? It can also be what? A, a decorative art, no? O yung ating aesthetic and design values, no? To an object. So, minsan ito yung ating mga ginagamit everyday such as glass or chairs or tables, mga ganyan, which is called what? Utilitarian art, no? So yun po. Ang mga art na ginagamit natin everyday, like yung mga chairs, yan, yung mga furniture. So that is what we call utilitarian art. Okay? So it can also be what? Art can be function as therapeutic level, no? Which is called the art therapy. Yun po yun, ano? So, it can be, it can be said, no, that fine arts represent an exploration of a human condition and um, it attempt also, no, to a deeper understanding of life o yung ating living. So, yan po yung ating ginagawa ng art. So, next is, ayan pala, according to Joseph Rossett, no, yung art can be anything. So art is the relationship between relations, not the relations between objects. Okay? So kasi nga it arouses our feelings, no? Both psychological and physical attributes. So pag nakakita tayo ng art, it stimulates our brain, no? And makes our moral feelings and our physical and emotional attributes work together. Okay? So, yan. So, it also what? Um, proven by anything, no? Can be termed art. Ayan. So, how does art look? Paano ba nakikita ang isang art? Paano natin mapaperceived? Yan. So, the best to define art is a subject of constant contention. And in many books, no, and journal and articles na inag-argue even the basic of what we mean by the term art. So, the main recent sense of the word art is roughly an abbreviation, no? An abbreviation for creative art or fine art. So, we mean na yung skill is being used, no? By, number one, express the artist's creativity. Then second is to engage the audience aesthetic sensibilities. Then third is to draw the audience towards consideration of the finer things. So ano pa yung excuse me. Ano pa yung nakikita natin sa ating methodology, no? When we say um art itself. So, dun sa ating when we say theories of art, so in um in the methodology, no, of institutional theory, um institutional approach ng ating um artwork. So when we say institutional approach to art, so this is states that the art must be examined as a sociological category. That whatever art school and museum and artist get away is considered an art regardless of formal definitions. So anything that is created, no, or has been established um by an artist is called an art. Okay? So, what is another approach? So, yung ating proceduralist approach. So, when we say proceduralist approach, ito yung art no that suggests the process of work. So, ibig sabihin, hindi po siya inherent to feature an object. So, ito po ay moving, no? So, ito po ay nakikreate through continuous movement. Okay? So yun po ay tinatawag na proceduralist approach. So pwede po siyang in 3D version or pwede pong live approach. So yan po ang ating procedural approach. So now we go to ating theories of art. When we say theories of art, so in formalism, it is a concept, no? Concept in art theory in which an art work is valued or determined by its form and how it is made with no regard for its context. Okay. So yun yung ating formalism approach for theories of art. Ayan. So there are several theories of art. So first is the institutional theory. So do not confuse this with the methodologies, no? So this one is the theory. So for the institutional theory, it is a theory, no, about a nature of art that holds what? That holds an object can become an art in the context of the institution known as what? The art world. So what is the art world? When we say the art world, these are the an artifact, no? Or on which some persons or persons acting in behalf of a certain social institution has conferred the status of the candidate for appreciation. So when we say art world, these are the museum directors, the gallery critics, no? Sila po yan. So, isa pa po, the art world is an informal institution, no, which embodies and encompasses the various formal and informal institutions, no, within particular act of art act of art world system. So yan po yan. So yung artifact in display kasama yan o yung ating um mga bagay na nakikita na naka-exhibit. So if we notice, that's the art world already. Okay? So when we say historical theory naman, this one is an art, no? Which what? Something that can be regarded as an artwork if it is intended to support a well-precedented art regard or When we say art regard, ito po yung mga, ano yun? These are the movement, no? On the artifact as an expression of feeling as a representation. So as a display of form, as an articulation for what? Cultural ideas or as a reflection upon nature of art. So yan yung ating art regard. So when we say uh, historical theory, ito yung mga nakikita natin na representing yung ating kapaligiran, no? Na nakikita nating man-made. So yan po yung ating mga historical theory. So what does art mean? So by definition, no? By definition, art has evolved over time. Marami po talagang definition na pwede nating sabihin with regards to what an art is. So it varies based on the context, no? Anything, in fact, can be an art. So the term continues to evolve every now and then. And then also the nature of art has been described by philosopher like Richard Wolheim, no, as one of the most elusive, no, of the traditional problem of human culture. Kasi it continuously evolves, no? The continuous definition of art is evolving from from old up to our modern times. So yan po 'yon. So ayan, art is also what? Can be defined as a vehicle for expression or communication of emotions and ideas, a means of exploring and appreciating formal elements from their own sake, and as a mimesis or representation. When we say mimesis, this is what? A representation, no? Actually, this is initiated or invented by Plato and Aristotle, no? Uh, wherein mimesis is a representation of nature. Yan. Okay? So, an art, no? At its simplest is the form of what? Communication. So, it means that whatever it is intended to mean by the artist, herself or himself, no? This meaning is shaped by the materials, techniques, forms of art, the vehicles they need, and as well as the ideas and feelings, no, na ano, influenced by the viewer. So kung ano po yung nakikita ng viewer, yun yung depending on the uh, perception nung nakakakita. Yan. So what makes art beautiful? So beauty in art can be difficult, no, to put into words. Why? Because due to a lack of accurate language or description that it can produce, because there are several definitions when we see or when we perceive how what beauty an art um possesses. Okay? So there is a basic human instinct, no? An internal appreciation for harmony, balance, and rhythm. And this can be defined as beauty as itself. Ayan. No? So, aesthetics. Yan. So, aesthetic is a branch of philosophy, no? That deals with the nature and appreciation of art, beauty, and taste. So aesthetic is excuse me. Aesthetic is central to any exploration of art. So aesthetic properties are instigated by non-aesthetic properties, no? So, yung ating physical properties that can be um initiated by the properties of aesthetics are shape and size, secondary qualities, no? So, yung secondary qualities are the colors and sound. Ayan. So, ito, for Immanuel Kant, one of the um instigator of one of the philosophers that focuses on the art enlightenment. So si Immanuel Kant is a philosopher, no? During the 1700s. And then for him, the aesthetic experience of beauty is a judgment of subjective but not common, no? But not common to human truth and imagination. So yun yung ating first moment of philosophy ng art, no? So imagination. So he states also, no, a reason may be dictate that a thing is useful if if it is only pleases as a means of ano our judgment. So also yung good for something, no, Kant makes a bar distinction between what is good for something and what is good in itself. Isa po yan sa mga inaano ni Immanuel Kant. Dito muna tayo. Ayan. So, isa pa po, no, dun sa kanyang ini-initiate is yung ating judgment of taste. So, nakadepende pa rin po talaga doon sa tumitingin kung ano yung makikita niya with regards to art itself. Dun sa ating second moment, no, of second moment is our subjective university. When we say subjective university, Immanuel Kant identifies it as the aspect, no, of the judgment of taste, which is the feeling of delight, no, and the object of aspect by which we perceive that something is beautiful, no. It is something, a partnership, no, between, excuse me, partnership of imagination and understanding. But also Immanuel Kant does not believe that judgment of taste relies in any way of a knowledge, no? So it comes with free judgment. Okay? So our third movement is the purposiveness without purpose. Ano bang ibig sabihin yan? So this way, um, in which the parts of a beautiful object, no, in relation to one another. So producing what? A design, which adds to the statement that analogous, a beautiful object is more than the sum of its parts, or as if it were something designed for a purpose. Yan po yung kanyang rebuttals. So literally, no, um consideration, no, for an object to occur for a specific purpose. So form of purposiveness. So it also been characterized as sublime and free interaction of imagination and understanding. So yan po yun, ano? So dun sa ating fourth movement, so ating fourth movement is we must agree on the beautiful. So when we say we must agree on the beautiful, this picks up and develop, no, yung proposition dun sa ating second movement na tinatawag na subjective university. So that judgment of beauty, no, is ought to be approved by everyone by a shared capacity for the exercise of taste. Ayan. So yan po yung ating um definition of what is beautiful by the philosopher Immanuel Kant. Now, there comes naman yung ating susunod na philosopher, which is Arthur Schopenhauer, no? Si Arthur Schopenhauer naman ay aesthetic contemplation of beauty, no? Ang kanyang pine-perceive. So, it's the most what? Freest and most pure and truthful than intellectual description of beauty. So therefore, it is beautiful. Ayan po tayo. So he also claimed, no, that art provides knowledge of eternal Platonic ideas, no, and as a result for this, a temporary relief from passive of willing. Ayan. So ibig sabihin, yung pong ating characteristic distinction of beauty ni Arthur ay objectivity of intellect, no? So yung ating normal functioning, no? Yung ating aesthetic point of view is read from what? From the objective of any other ways, no? Regarding dun sa ating object. So the art does not transport the viewer to an imaginary or even ideal realm, no? So what it perceive is yung influence ng ating aesthetic judgment. So when we say aesthetic judgment, so we cannot be empirical judgment but must instead be processed on a more intuitive level. So the beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. Yan po, diyan pumapasok yan. So aesthetics are all over the senses, not just by sight, but also for a 4D experience. So for example, like ito po yung ating um image, no? So dun sa ating vaporator, yung pwede naman pong ganyan, functional usability, no? Pero if you notice, aesthetic is not present on the left side versus yung ating aesthetic usability na same din naman na vaporator pero mas appreciated mo yung itsura at mas magandang tignan. Okay? So they are both vaporator but dun sa ating aesthetic usability, mas present dun sa ating nasa right image. So yan yung gustong sabihin ni Arthur Schopenhauer, no? Na aesthetic judgment. So who is an artist? So an artist is a person who is involved, no, in the wide range of activities that are related in creating an art, no? So the word has transformed, no, over time and its context, no? So but the modern understanding of the term denotes that ultimately an artist is anyone who calls him or herself an artist. So um Yan. So, yung art, no, comes from the Greek word, techne is the closest that exists, no, to describe an art, which means, ano, making any craft or art, no? From that word, no, yung ating techne naging um naging techinus, no? And then derived into an English word technique. Okay? We're in it evolves into technology or technical. Yan. So from this, no, we can say that the ancient standards of equating art with manual labor or crafting. Ayan. So in the Middle Ages, no, the word artista referred to something or resembling craftsman or student of art. Yun po ang ibig sabihin ng word na yan, ng artista. Craftsman or student of arts. So the first division, no, into a major or minor arts dates way back into 1400s, no? With the word of Leon Battista Alberti, which is focused on the importance of intellectual skills of the artist rather than the manual skills of craftsmanship, no? So, um, the European academies, no, of the 16th century formally solidified yung gap between the applied arts and yung ating fine arts, which exist in varying degrees up to this day, up to our present day. So generally speaking, no, the applied arts or applied design and aesthetics to objects of everyday use, while the fine arts serve as intellectual stimulation. Okay? So again, applied arts, ito po yung ating design and aesthetic objects of everyday use, while the fine arts serve as intellectual stimulation. So for example, this one, the Mona Lisa, here is then one of the iconic uh painting and one of the greatest fine arts existed. So this one is an intellectual stimulation. Okay? Well, this one, the interior of a hotel to sell by Victor Horta, one of the greatest contributor of Art Nouveau in architecture. So this one is what we call the applied arts because of the design and aesthetic of an object as to everyday usage. Okay? So currently, no, the term artist typically refers to anyone who is engaged in an activity that is deemed to be an art form, no? But however, no, the questions of what or who is an artist are not easily answered. So, meron po tayong mga idea, no, of defining arts, but it is difficult for from a day-to-day basis or event kung ano po yung ating magiging definition ng artist na yon. So, after the pop art movement, though, the question na what is art or who an artist is more conceptual realm, no? Dun sa atin. Dahil nga marami na siyang definition dun sa ating ginagawang who is an artist. Yan. So guys, ayan 'no, meron po tayong mga key terms dito, yung mga pinagsasabi ko kanina. So ayan, it's by your own understanding na po ito kasi meron na naman po siyang I put some definitions on it for you to make it easier to understand. Okay? So now we go to our second part, the context in art. When we say context in art, no? So marami po yang um marami po itong sample. So one of the context in art is the cultural perspective in art. When we say cultural perspective in art, um it is a complex concept, no? It's a uh complex concept, no, that encompasses the ways of social life, no, that affects and informs our experiences. So the cultural perspective refers to what? To the way that individuals are shaped by terms of environment, as were social or cultural factors. And then such factors, no, include a person's nationality, race and gender, their traditions and cultural heritage they are imparting to. Okay. So one of the examples of cultural perspective in art is this one, the Muslim betrothal. So naka ano po dito, no? So this one is a painting by Carlos Botong Francisco. So naging controversial po ito, no? Yung painting that depicts a Muslim wedding kasi some of it find it offensive because of the inclusions of the paintings of the half-naked woman dancing, which is, syempre, di ba, hindi naman acceptable sa Muslim yan. And then also yung ating pig. May baboy po dun sa ibaba na hindi naman kinakain sa kanila. Okay? So, yan po yun. So when we say naman historical perspective in art, so this one is a political or socio-economic or cultural setting, no? That that influence into the work of art, no? It is created and will affect and how it is perceived by the art history. So the art conveys political, religious, or philosophical themes and judgment that arise from the artist environment, no? As they from his or her creative impulse. So like this one, no? The liberty leading the people. So ito po yung isa sa mga July Revolution, no? Which toppled Charles X of France. So isa po ito sa political current events during that time, which is part also of yun sa Les Miserables na novel. Ayan. So, in many ways, no, the historical backbone of art history is a celebratory chronology of beautiful creations of art, no, commissioned by religious or civic institutions, no, or wealthy individuals during that time. So the art, no, arises from the combination of non-motivated factors driven by intrinsic human impulse, no, towards the harmony and creativity motivated factors, which is consciously armed to communicate specific messages and other individuals. Like this one, no, yung patronage ng art, no, because of religion. Like this by Sandro Botticelli with Madonna and Child with the Eight Angels, which is depicting um, Mary and Jesus during his childhood. Okay. So, yung ating personal perspective naman, when we say personal perspective, these are formed by the layered aspects, no, that forms our individual identities. So this could be any number of defining aspects such as gender class, race, where you were born and raised, education aspects of family, group of affiliated groups of individual. So these aspects no forms our unique biographical experience that constitute to our identity and our personal point of view on the way we um interpret our life experiences. So yan po yun, no? Yan yung ating mga personal perspective in art. Like this one of the prominent artists din, no? Ana Vizcara, which explores the sense of being a personal perspective of scientific observations. So this is her poignant narratives regarding her observation of our daily life. Okay? So yan po yung personal perspective in art. So now we come to our critical modalities in art. So critical modalities in art, these are criticisms of art, no? First forms were discussions of meaning has taken many directions with ancient Greece. Professional art critics are often the gatekeepers, no? Who through their writings, no, endorse or reject particular kind of art, whether in style or artistic ability or message. So the art criticism, guys, no, includes what? Descriptive aspects where the work of art is sufficiently translated, no, into words. So ibig sabihin literally translated yung pong ating mga work of art. So the art criticism no includes yung descriptive aspect where the work of art is sufficiently translated into words, allowing uh a case to be made or uh uh or a methodology of description, no? Next is yung ating structural criticism. When we say structural criticism, this is based on the notion that our concept of reality is expressed through language and related systems of communication, no? So, yan po yun, no? On a larger scale, no, visualized culture as a structure wherein the foundation is language, speech, or other forms of communication. So this structure, guys, no, is still um based on language and knowledge and how we communicate on an idea. Okay? So on art based, no, based on pre-conceptual ideas. So the perception or limitations are shaped by language or by cultural experiences, no? Like this one, the painting, this is not a pipe by Belgian surrealist artist Rene Magritte. So these are signs, no, to be considered in a founding stone in structuralism. Yan. So the constructive criticism naman, when we say the constructive criticism, this suggests no that any work of art can have many meanings attached to it. So none of which are limited by the particular language or experience outside the work of itself. So ang job po ng critics dito ay to what? To reveal yung structure ng world that created by the artist. So yung ating mga preconceptions, no, may got away to the true meaning nung ating artwork itself. So ayan. Formalist criticism. So when we say formalist criticism, this is what we engage, no, in when we look at the element of the principles of art. So formalism doesn't really care about what goes on outside or the actual space of work, but yung meaning na makikita natin dun sa use of materials that in how he created the artwork itself, no? So one of the best art critics are Clive Bell and Clement Greenberg. So Clement Greenberg, no, stresses the medium of specificity. So when we say medium of specificity, the notion, no, there is the inherent meaning in the way materials are used, no, to create yung ating artwork. Uh, as it relates the painting or works on the paper, no? So the result is yung focus ng two-dimension surface. So para sa kanya, yung rejections of representation by the abstract artist was natural evolution of ating visual art. So yung manipulation ng form was the king was the king or the key of artistic expression. So we can approach, no, yung ating abstract and non-representational art on their own terms, no. Isa pa pala, no, when we say aesthetic emotion, no, ito naman yung by Clive Bell, no. He believed that emotions we experience when looking at the artwork are incited by its formal quality and not for its subject matter. Ayan. Ayan. So dito tayo sa ideological criticism. When we say ideological criticism, it is most concerned, no, with relationship between the art and structures of power. So it infers that the art is embedded in social, economic, and political structure that determines its final meaning. With Karl Marx, no? Si Karl Marx ay isa pong ideology philosopher and literarist. So with his writings, no, it is translated that art and artifacts are symbols that reflects political ideals and reinforce of the version of reality with one another. So the best example that we can have is the Lincoln Memorial, no, na designed by Daniel Chester French. So this one is the best example of statement of political system that oppressed people because of their race, yet summoned the political will to set them free in the process of ending the Civil War, which instigated by Abraham Lincoln. So, in contrast with this, no, yung minsan yung approach by the application ng ating like this one by Ernest Ludwig um Kirchner, yung sa kanyang painting, no? Dito naman in contrast is the use of many colors as expressionist art with a rough approach into the forms, no, that serve as to what the functions of survival, diagnostic of art, and yung ating mga small sculpture and large paintings, no. So yan po yon. So yan po yung ating ideological criticism. And then with our psychoanalytic criticism, yan. So when we say psychoanalytic criticism, it is the way we should look, no, at the work if uh if we feel it is only about the personal expression. So basically, it is most appropriate to say no na yung ating psychoanalytic criticism is applied to works dealing with a strong emotional content such as dream, imagery, or fantasy. Ayan. So, best example for this is Vincent van Gogh, which is because of his condition or mental state. He created arts that were in his mental state is more than his actual artwork, no? Yung kanyang expression and yung kanyang creative turning dun sa ating um kanyang career, no, during his innermost achievement, yung kanyang moments of art, which is the problem on this type of criticism, because we can see a lot of description on in seeing his designs, no? Ayan po. So feminist criticism, when we say feminist criticism, this one is big this criticism began in 1970s, no, as a response to the neglect of women artists over time. So they invoke yung through historical writings or uh viewing of art as an example of gender bias in history. So with the feminist criticism, it created a whole movement in the art world, specifically on the performance-based art. When we say performance-based art, ito po yung ating mga nakikita visually, no? Like this one, yung mga installation art, kasama po yan. So, it has changed over the last few years, no, to include, excuse me, to include all uh underrepresented groups like the women. Yan. So yan po yung ating feminist criticism. Like this one, installation again. So one of the best example po ay si Judy Chicago and si ating Nancy Sparrow, no? One of the key names dun sa ating feminist criticism. Yan. Yan po ang kanilang best examples ng ating um feminist criticism. So this guys ends our topic for this session. So in our next meeting, we will be presenting naman yung ating periods of art. Okay? So yan na po yung ating susunod na discussion. Thank you and have a good day.